Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today, we're plunging into, well, a truly iconic world, Ian Fleming's From Russia with Love. Maybe not quite how you expect. We're aiming to unpack the real nuts and bolts behind the creation of a legendary villain and the incredibly detailed plot designed to bring down our hero.
That's right. We've got some fascinating source material here, straight from Fleming's pages. Our mission today really is to explore that meticulous planning and also the surprisingly human elements behind this huge espionage scheme. You're going to get a real insider's view from the chilling birth of a killer to the high-stakes chess match of international intelligence.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Imagine this scene. It opens with a man, naked, beside a swimming pool. All his expensive stuff is laid out next to him. Gold lighter, Fabergé case, fancy watch showing. June 10th, 2.30. Seems idyllic, right? But the masseuse looking after him feels this instinctive horror. For his splendid body, as Fleming puts it, she notices his tight red gold curls, that sort of...
Set her teeth on edge?
Yeah. Exactly, yeah, set her teeth on edge. And this embryo tale of golden down that she finds bestial, or maybe reptilian. She wonders if it's just physical, the roast meat look of his skin, or if it's something deeper, spiritual, like an animal instinct telling her that inside this wonderful body there was an evil person. She notes he's indifferent, doesn't interact. And there are rumors. It's a police villa. He comes back bruised, sometimes with wounds, like one over his heart.
It's really fascinating, isn't it, how we first meet Donovan Grant or Red Grant through someone else's fear, someone forced into his personal space. It immediately makes you ask, well, what kind of man inspires that kind of visceral reaction? Fleming is setting up something primal here, not just introducing a bad guy.
So who is this guy? The phone rings, and suddenly the naked man is tense, up on one knee like a runner waiting for the gun. We learn his name is Donovan Grant, codename Granite. And get this, he's the chief executioner of SMERSH. That's the MGB's, the Soviet Ministry for State Security's murder apparat. The call, it's direct from Moscow.
Yeah, and that tells you a lot about state-sponsored violence, how institutionalized it is. Grant's backstory is pretty disturbing, too. The result of a midnight union between a German professional weightlifter and a Southern Irish waitress behind a circus tent. He's orphaned, grows up healthy and extremely strong, but very quiet. No friends. If he wanted something, he just took it with his fists. He's like a blank slate, but a dangerous one.
And it gets creepier. There are these ghastly rumors about a moon killer back in Ireland. Grant gets questioned, but he's protected. He gets into boxing, even wins a championship. Then during national service in Berlin, he's intrigued by the constant smell of danger. And he liked all he heard about the Russians, their brutality, their carelessness of human life, and their guile. So he decides to defect, brings secret papers with him on his motorcycle. I mean, how did the Soviets even recognize what they had here?
Well, they were actively looking for someone like him. The MGB colonel apparently thought about just executing him. But the head of personnel saw something valuable. He saw a man who appeared to be expert at both forms of killing, dedicated to his craft, and indeed, if the doctors were to be believed, destined for it. They did a whole assessment. Not interested in politics, advanced manic depression linked to the full moon, which is bizarre, narcissism, asexuality, high pain tolerance, cunning. He wasn't just some thug they picked up, he was profiled, almost like a weapon being identified and acquired.
So putting that all together, what does Grant's origin story tell us about SMERSH itself?
It shows SMERSH, the name, means death to spies, remember, as this incredibly pragmatic, utterly ruthless organization, employing, 40,000 people back in '55. Grant goes through 2 years of intense training. He's great at the technical subjects, codes, communications, fieldwork, but struggles with general political knowledge, apparently writes illiterate nonsense, doesn't matter to them. And the really chilling part, twice during that year, he's taken to Moscow jails, hood over his head, to carry out executions with the rope, the axe, the submachine gun. They're literally honing his skills. He's a tool forged by the state.
Okay, so from the killer himself, let's shift gears. We fast forward to this high-level meeting at SMERSH HQ. General G, the head of SMERSH, gets leaders from MGB, GRU, that's military intelligence, and RUMID, naval intelligence, all together. They've got orders from Comrade General Serov of the Presidium. The task: recommend an act of terrorism to be carried out in enemy territory within 3 months. Apparently, Stalin's old hard policy built up too much tension with America. Now they need a hard, soft approach. They need a big intelligence win. What's the thinking here?
It's a really interesting moment in Cold War strategy, isn't it? The old ways were too dangerous, pushing things too far. So now they need a victory that's big, public, makes them look strong, but is maybe politically smarter. They start analyzing the West's intelligence agencies. The RUMID general kind of dismisses the smaller countries, except Sweden, interestingly. He says they've been spying on us for centuries. Italy and Spain are no harm. France is just looking after herself. But then they get to England, and there are these grudging nods of respect.
Yeah, that's quite something in the source material, isn't it? The Soviets actually acknowledging British strengths. The general blames it on the public school and university tradition and this love of adventure, even though the agents are underpaid.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Colonel Nikitin from MGB who suggests targeting the English Secret Service. After some back and forth about M, the admiral who runs it, Nikitin sort of hesitantly brings up a man called Bond.
And boom, that's the moment, right? The big strategic plan suddenly zooms in on one guy. General G apparently explodes, shouting, "James Bond!" And nobody could think of this spy's name. Turns out Bond has been a real thorn in their side. The Le Chiffre thing in France, beating their men in Harlem, stopping the Drax rocket plot, they pull his file. James, 183 centimeters, 76 kilograms, slim, blue eyes, black hair, scar on his cheek and shoulder, all-round athlete, expert pistol shot, boxer, knife thrower, doesn't use disguises, speaks French, German, smokes a lot those special cigarettes with the 3 gold bands, vices, drink but not to excess, and women, crucially, not thought to accept bribes, carries a .25 Beretta, a knife, stake-up shoes, knows judo, fights with tenacity, high pain tolerance. And General G's order is just brutal. To be killed with ignominy, it's not enough to kill him. They have to destroy his name.
Destroy his reputation. And for that, they bring in the Wizard of Ice, Kronsteen. He's SMERSH's chess grandmaster, head of planning. Described as cold, calculating, sees people only as chess pieces, but understands their basic instincts, self-preservation, sex, herd instinct. He tells General G, look, it's no good killing a man unless you also destroy his reputation. The act has to happen outside England, somewhere. They control the press. And he cooks up this plan involving a bait with a touch of eccentricity to hook the English pride and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
This is way beyond just a simple hit.
Exactly. Kronstein's playing a different game. It's cold, analytical. He understands psychology, or at least weaknesses. He's not about revenge. He's about strategic humiliation. The plan is designed to hit Bond where he's vulnerable, yes, but also to exploit a perceived English cultural trait. It makes the whole thing not just an assassination, but a massive intelligence coup designed to wreck the British Secret Service's credibility.
Okay, so let's meet the bait. Tatiana Romanova. She's a young corporal in state security living in women's barracks in Moscow. Decent salary, private room, access to special shops, tickets to the ballet or opera, but her world is small, just other MGB people. And she knows she probably has to marry one of them to stay in the ministry. What makes her the perfect lure?
Well, she's carefully chosen, isn't she? She has some comfort, sure, but she's fundamentally trapped by the system. She wants more. And that's often how espionage works, right? It's not always overt threats. Sometimes it's about leveraging those hidden desires, those unmet needs. Her sort of innocence, her desperation, makes the whole setup believable to Bond, and maybe even believable to herself in a way.
And the person who recruits her, Rosa Klebb, head of SMERSH operations. The description in the source material is, well, terrifying. Rumored to have murdered her own boss to get the job, her blood-stained hands grasped the rung. Kronsteen apparently described her as the rarest of all sexual types, a neuter, which supposedly gives her this psychological and physiological neutrality, the essence of coldness.
Yeah.
Utterly ruthless. Enjoys torture, it's suggested. She sounds like SMERSH personified.
She really does. That neutrality isn't about being passive. It's about a complete chilling detachment that allows for ultimate ruthlessness. So Klebb calls Tatiana in, offers her champagne, a promotion captain, flatters her about her record, then she drops the bombshell. The real mission, this labor of love, is falling in love with James Bond. Tatiana's reaction, it flips from pure terror, beau-moi, to excitement. And the really insidious part, the false mirror plan for the hotel room, SMERSH photographers filming everything. Tatiana has absolutely no idea about the real plot. She thinks she's doing her duty, maybe finding a way out, a better life through Bond.
Meanwhile, back in London, Bond is in a funk. Fleming calls it a city, this deep boredom, spiritual weariness. It's the only vice Bond utterly condemned. His girlfriend, Tiffany Case, has left him. His mental guard was down. Then M calls him in. And strangely, M asks about his personal life first. Then M reveals Tatiana's story. She's supposedly terrified, developed a phobia of Russian men, but has this passion for Bond, wants him to rescue her, and she'll bring a Spectre cipher machine with her. It all seems a bit too neat, doesn't it?
It really does seem almost too convenient, which, just shows how intelligence operations often exploit existing vulnerabilities. Bond's personal low point lines up perfectly with SMERSH's trap. He's basically being set up to, as he puts it rather bitterly, pimp for England. Seduce a woman to get a machine. He's so out of sorts that he even carelessly discards some Q-branch gear, like a cyanide pill hidden in his briefcase. It's like his usual edge is dulled by this ennui.
So Bond flies to Istanbul, on Friday the 13th no less, feels the smell of danger during a bad thunderstorm. He's met by Darko Karim Bey, the head of Station T Fleming, describes him as someone who just radiated life. Right away, Karim's car is being tailed by these faceless ones on scooters. Karim is fascinating. He relies on his family for security, tells Bond his whole life story: born in Trebizond, father had a harem, English governess, wild youth as a smuggler, then recruited while working as a circus strongman. What a cover. He seems like the total opposite of the cold Esmeralda types.
Absolutely. He's the classic Bond ally, isn't he? Full of life, deeply rooted in his environment, uses street smarts and connections, not just protocol. It really highlights the different styles of intelligence work. Karim's approach is so personal, so based on local knowledge, and, well, cunning. Definitely a contrast to the bureaucratic machinery of SMERSH. Makes you wish you had a Karim Bey on your side.
Definitely. So Karim takes Bond on this little foray into enemy territory, down a narrow, stinking alley, then through a tunnel full of rats. They use a periscope, an actual submarine periscope, war surplus, apparently bought with a few £100 in bribes to spy on the Russian intel station. Bond sees the Russian boss, his staff, and then he sees Tatiana delivering a signal. But Bond notices something odd, the slyness and contempt in the eyes of the Russian men when she's there, like she was a spy who had been caught.
That's a great detail. It shows the contrast again, doesn't it? The big, sophisticated global plot versus the gritty, down and dirty reality of spying in Istanbul. Karim's literally operating underground, using makeshift tools and his intimate knowledge of the city. He's even got the place wired with a bomb, just in case he's compromised. It really paints a picture of the different fronts in the Cold War.
Later, things get even more intense. Karim takes Bond to a gypsy camp. There's some kind of tribal justice going down. Two girls, Zora and Vida, are fighting to the death over a man. But this brutal fight gets interrupted by a bomb blast. Then an attack by those faceless ones, led by a Bulgarian gangster named Krylenko. Bond actually saves Karim's life during the chaos, stops a knife attack.
Right, and this raises a really key question. Why attack Karim, but specifically leave Bond unharmed? If Bond's the main target, that seems odd.
Exactly. It's a huge clue, isn't it? Karim finds out later that Krylenko's orders were clear: kill Karim and the gypsy chief, Vavra. But Bond, leave him alone. Why diplomatic repercussions? That tells you Bond isn't just meant to be killed. He's a piece in a much bigger, more humiliating game tied to those repercussions. It really ramps up the sinister nature of the plot.
It absolutely does. It confirms Kronstein's plan isn't just about elimination. It's about maximum political and reputational damage.
So Karim deals with Krylenko in his own way. Shoots him through a train vent with a sniper rifle. Cold-blooded. Bond is clearly disturbed by it. The next day, Tatiana shows up with a Spectre machine. She suggests they take the Orient Express, pose as husband and wife. She seems frightened, Fleming writes, but also excited. Still totally unaware she's the bait in this deadly trap.
And her sincerity is part of what makes the trap work. She genuinely asks Bond to protect her. It's quite poignant, really. And all the while, unknown to either of them, those SMERSH photographers are behind the fake mirror in their train compartment, recording everything for the smear campaign later, every moment.
So they're on the Orient Express, heading through Yugoslavia. Bond starts feeling more and more uneasy. They dodge some Russian agents on the train, mostly thanks to Karim's network and money. But then, in Zagreb, this new guy shows up, Captain Norman Nash. Claimed to be a British agent, uses the right code phrase, seems a bit awkward, bumbling even. Bond notices his eyes are opaque, almost dead, but still trusts him. He even gives Nash his own gun for protection. Oh, Bond, he's walked right into it.
He really has. And this is Kronstein's masterstroke, the final move, because Nash, of course, is Red Grant. The same guy Bond saw lurking around London earlier, the one with the unsettling presence. Grant drops the facade and lays out Kronstein's beaut of a plan. It's a setup, a fake murder-suicide. Bond kills Tatiana, then himself, staged to happen in the Simplon tunnel. Grant explains the Spectre machine is booby-trapped, designed to explode when the British experts try to examine it. Chaos, embarrassment, it would ruin Britain's security reputation, especially with the Americans. And the fake love letter planted in Bond's pocket, that seals the scandal. Grant gloats. Sex, spies, luxury train, Mr. and Mrs. Somerset. Old man, it'll run for months.
Wow. And Bond's reaction. Horror. He realizes he's just been sucked along on the easy stream down which it had been planned that he should drift. He says he was in the killing bottle from the minute he got off that plane in Turkey. Then darkness in the Simplon tunnel. Grant makes his move, opens fire, but Bond reacts instantly. Uses his book and his metal cigarette case, remember that? Shields himself from the dum-dum bullet, those expanding bullets. Nasty stuff. Then it's brutal hand-to-hand combat. Bond uses his Q-branch throwing knife. Grant fights back with a long steel finger, probably a poisoned blade hidden somewhere. But in the end, Bond gets the upper hand. Uses his own Beretta, the one Grant foolishly gave back to him. Talk about irony. The hunter becomes the hunted.
It's an incredible turnaround, isn't it? It just showcases Bond's sheer will to survive, his adaptability. Even when he's completely outplayed, ambushed in this perfectly designed trap, his instincts take over. He flips the script on Grant. It's a real testament to that unpredictable human element triumphing over cold calculus.
So Bond makes it to Paris. He knows Klebb is waiting. Grant told him the rendezvous point's the Ritz, no less. He finds her there. Rosa Klebb, disguised as an old woman, knitting in this elegant hotel suite. But Bond remembers something, a tiny detail he'd noticed. No wires led from the bell push by her chair. He senses the trap.
And again, you see Klebb's nature, the sheer audacity of the disguise right there in the Ritz. And she's still armed to the teeth in her own subtle way. Poisoned knitting needles, a bogus telephone that's actually a gun. She embodies that cold, relentless SMERSH dedication, sticking to the plan even as it's falling apart around her, right to the bitter end.
Bond confronts her, kicks the poison needles away, uses the chair to block her. The telephone gun goes off, spraying bullets. It looks bad for Bond for a second, but then Mathis and other French agents, alerted by Bond earlier, burst in. Klebb is captured, and the final shot of Bond, collapsing headlong to the wine-red floor. Exhausted, maybe wounded, but victorious.
So when you really dive into the source material like this, what stands out is Fleming's insight into that human element. It's the ultimate wild card, isn't it? SMERSH's plan was brilliant, meticulous, but it failed, not because of a flaw in the logic, but because it couldn't fully account for things like Bond's raw tenacity, or even Tatiana's naive hope, which ironically made her play her part so convincingly. It really shows how human nature, in all its messiness, can just completely derail even the most perfect schemes.
What a journey that was. From figuring out how they built this killer, Grant, to watching this massive international chess game unfold. This deep dive really shows you all the layers involved in espionage, both constructing the plot and, well, surviving it. It definitely makes you think about that clash between grand strategy and just individual human messiness.
It really does. Even Kronstein's genius couldn't factor in every single human variable. Which kind of leads to the big question, doesn't it? Is it ever truly possible for an intelligence agency, however powerful, to completely control that human element in their operations? What do you think?